to episode 12 of Life Studied. So it's me and my good friend Mairin-taj. I'm gonna Mairin-taj, say hi to everybody. So we're in a new space. I'm gonna. Don't pay attention to this. But this is a working studio, which you can't see much of, unfortunately, in this particular shot. But we're in a new space because we have a new sponsor.
Yay!
Yeah, which is awesome, actually. So we were at PCAD, which is the Pennsylvania College of Art and Design. We are now across the street at an art store called Curio, Curio, in downtown Lancaster, PA, which is my personal favorite art store at the moment. I'm not saying that just because they sponsored the show.
We've been coming here for years.
Yeah, for sure, since they opened the place. So there was a different art store a couple blocks away that was awesome, and it was like a factory, and that probably suffered because of that they had more stuff than they needed. Curio is really aimed at specific types of artists, right? There's not a ton of ceramic stuff or anything like that, but if you want to draw, paint, and do illustration, it's really catering to those kind of folks, and I absolutely love it. And they happen to have this space in the back of the store that they use for workshops, and it's a studio. They do figure drawing back here. They do still lives, sessions. I think they call it Sketchbook Club.
Yeah, various workshops.
And you've been to that, correct?
Yeah, I have. And they also have a little mini gallery in the main space where they do regular art features. And I actually have a show here.
I was just going to ask you about that. Yeah. How long ago was that?
That was a couple years ago now. Yeah, I think it was a year or so after COVID.
Yeah, so the gallery space is in the actual art store, but it doesn't come off gross. Like it feels like a gallery that just has really curated art supplies.
Yeah, very beautifully curated.
Yeah.
Again, word is kind of key there. Just a really great space to wander around, look at art in, and pick up some really thoughtfully collected resources for your practice.
Which I haven't told you, but we're talking, now that they are sponsoring us, we might do a show, maybe a life study art show. I asked them about maybe we could do both of our stuff.
Oh, that'd be great! I love that.
Yeah, so it might be 2025.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah.
That would work better for me.
Okay, good. I'm sorry to spring it on you on the show. But
that's a great idea.
Yeah, I think so. Like a kind of, there's a companion book to this thing.
Yeah.
So a companion art show makes sense to me.
That's cool.
So yeah.
And that actually caters well to the whole theme here, which as a store, like they do a lot of draftsmanship type products and stuff. So we're both crafters.
Right, Matt and Nicole are the couple that run the shop, and they're both, besides just being really incredibly sweet human beings.
Yeah, they're lovely.
They're both super talented.
Yeah.
Nicole she designs cards that she sells here in the shop.
Yeah.
I bought a couple for loved ones, and everybody always compliments me on it. And Matt is an artist and also works across the street. He teaches some drawing classes.
Yeah, at PCAD.
So it's just I feel really lucky to have a new home here. So it'll take a couple tries before I think we figure out the configuration after working at PCAD. But I'm excited.
Yeah.
I think it's cool.
No, this is a great new home.
Yeah, for sure.
For the show.
Which brings us, I have a couple of topics I wanted to talk about. We might as well stick with the first one I was thinking in terms of supplies, which we've talked a little about, and I should probably get the drawing while we talk, but the idea, I think, is about the quality of your supplies mattering, which we've talked about, I think, on the show before. But being here reminds me it's also like the quality of the people that you buy your supplies from.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that to sound snobby, like some people are low quality, but I mean in that if you go to Michael's and buy all your art supplies, you'll get stuff, but you're buying it from people that don't know anything about the supplies you're getting, and often can't help you. Whereas like you could walk in here, and I'll put a link to their website because they're also doing special orders, which
that's right.
I've been ordering, like I can just call and ask Matt or Nicole and say I need this kind of paper, can you get it? And then a week later it's here. So but it's nice because you can walk in here, and I've seen it. I've been in here where a young artist will walk in and say, I'm curious about oil paints, like what would I need? And they can go, okay, this is exactly, and not fleece you, but actually sell you what you would actually need. So I don't know.
Whether it's from here or another place, they can really relay you to a reputable source. Yeah.
Correct. And
which is so educational.
yeah, I mean it's like this is specific to men, but the idea of like when you go buy a suit and you go somewhere where they tailor it to you. I've bought suits off the rack, and I've bought suits where you go in and they measure you, and the two experiences
a
don't
world
even compare.
apart.
Yeah, because I mean, like, besides just looking goofy, I remember buying a suit off the rack because I was like pressed for time, and I'm built weird. My shoulders are too wide for my height, so I had to get I had to get this like oversized jacket and then like normal pants, and it just because my waist is really small.
Yeah.
So I just look goofy. And you go to a tailor, and I remember the last time I had a suit where it was tailored to me was like this Russian lady. It was in Florida somewhere. And she just did all these, and I put the thing on. And she did it really fast too, which is not always the case. But it's just, it felt amazing to wear. Not to sound cocky, but I thought I looked awesome in my suit. So that's kind of what you get here, or stores like this.
Yeah, I agree with you. I like your point about how you felt amazing, because I've noticed that in my own practice with work. Like, if you have the right tools or something that's appropriate to the type of way you want to work and what you need out of what you're working with, it can make you feel kind of amazing. It can give you that little boost that you need just to
sometimes you do, right? Like, you don't want to draw every day, and sometimes you break, especially if you're like us. And what's the term? Neurospicy.
Neurospicy, that's it.
And sometimes you just like, just a new pencil or something will get you like excited to draw again.
Yeah, it's a way in. It's another way into the practice. For sure.
Which I should mention our other sponsor, Blackwing Pencil, which you can order through the link in our description. But Curio also offers all the Blackwing stuff. Which is nice.
Yes.
So if you're anywhere near the Lancaster area, or Lancaster, sorry, I always say it wrong.
Lancaster.
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 I'm not a Lancaster native, so I say it wrong.
Neither am I, but you know, it happens.
but anyway, come by. They're an amazing shop. Tell them we sent you.
Yeah, and they have great art shows every month or a couple of months.
Yeah, there's a new one up like
right
this
now.
week, right? So they have an art talk. As we're recording this, it's Wednesday, so they have some art talk tonight. Evidently, and there's always something going on.
And I think they share their art talks online too. I think
awesome.
I think they actually, because I did one, and oh god, please don't go watch it.
No?
No. It was my first one. I'm sure it was abysmal. I never want to watch it.
Stop.
But anyway, I'm sure I think they do like a YouTube thing.
Okay. All right, so we'll do that.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, so you want to draw?
Oh, shut down a bunch of that shit.
No, I won't link it in the description. So, so art supplies. So there's the quality aspect of like getting good stuff.
2-minute gestures to start?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
I will be very rusty, everybody. I'm sorry. So good quality stuff, just for the sake of having good quality stuff, is not really the point.
No.
It's partly, like you said, what it makes you feel like when you're drawing, and just the fun of new supplies, but also like there's a practical point to it, right? Like, one of the things I had a professor that used to yell at all of us about was buying cheap sketchbooks that did not have acid-free paper.
Yeah.
Because of the way that stuff ages, and it ruins your drawings because it turns yellow, and so that the quality of the work is not, or rather the quality of the supplies is not just about spending more, it's about just knowing what you're buying. And a place like this makes that easier because you can ask that.
Yeah, and there's that element of if you have quality supplies, like for example paper, the material that you're working with, it actually helps your work stay preserved for longer.
Correct.
So that's a resource for you. Like, you end up spending less over time in terms of what you like, how you can preserve your work and keep it usable.
Right. I mean, because I think art students especially get stuck in this pattern of getting cheap supplies. I know I did.
Sure.
And once you get to a certain point, that's when this professor sort of kicked in and was like, all right, enough with the garbage, right? Because you're you're drawing well enough that you might want to keep some of this stuff. So change your practice, and I think that's where the people you buy stuff from come in, right? Because if you say, look, I just don't have a ton of money, but I want to get started, versus I've been drawing for a while and I want to preserve these drawings for posterity, they can direct you to the right stuff without you having to do a ton of homework. You know?
Yeah, agreed. Posterity, and also just for future use. Sometimes it's good to look back on your work years later, even,
yes.
And sometimes you can be like, oh, I really like that. I'm gonna use that for this piece, or
yes.
recycle it, or resell it, or something.
Yeah. I mean, that self-education aspect of it is important, right? Because even if you are in art school, you're not gonna be there for long.
That's right.
And you need to get to a point where you can I use a lot of sports references in class, and it probably gets on everybody's nerves, but you have to review your tapes a little bit and see how you performed, so.
I'm glad you mentioned that after a certain point, your instructors or whomever might point out to you that you need to level up your game, including your resources, your tools. Because I've always been a little leery of, just generally talking about or advising people to, get really quality supplies, because I think if you're starting out, or if you don't have a consistent practice, or if you're really in the lower end of the curve of learning, then it shouldn't be about how expensive your tools are.
Correct.
But there is a point at which that curve increases, and you need to kind of parallel what you're using and how you're using it, if that makes sense.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, think of something as simple as a pencil, which when you're starting out, a pencil is just a pencil. And then as you learn more about it, you realize there's, about a dozen different grades of darkness and hardness of lead. And all of them do a different thing, and depending on what you're working on, you may want a certain kind of lead versus another, and that all comes from talking to people that know the materials, but also like experimenting with the stuff. And at first, it doesn't make sense to spend a bunch of money on expensive pencils. I mean, there's some Karen Dodge pencils that are, one pencil will cost you as much as like a pack of regular pencils.
Right. Right.
So if you're just starting out, that doesn't make sense. And you go to an art store with actual artists running it, they'll be able to say to you like, we'll sell you this if you want, but you probably don't need it yet.
Yeah.
Try this.
And I think that's a really untapped resource.
Yeah.
For consumers, that's something definitely to pay attention to.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being at a Michael's years ago, and this is not to badmouth Michael's. They have their place. They have a great name. But I'm there, and I was grabbing something. I just needed like some pens really quickly for a show I think I was going to. And there's some teenage kid, and he's there with his mom, and he's just stuck. Like, I need to have Copic markers. So if you're not familiar, Copic is this they're kind of pricey, Japanese made kind of alcohol-based markers that they're very good. They're usually used for illustration, and they have like tons of colors, tons of tones, that kind of thing. But this was like a kid that was clearly, kind of new to drawing, and I mean, he couldn't have been, I don't know, he was maybe 14.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah, maybe, I could be judging that wrong, but, and his poor mom is looking at them going like, Jesus, these are $7-8 a piece.
Yeah.
Like, do we really need these markers? And I just felt so bad for them, because he was so stuck on wanting them, because I'm sure he saw them online and thought, my favorite artist uses them, I need to get these.
Right.
And we've all been there, right, where we find out our favorite artist or our hero uses a particular thing that now we need to have. But I just remember wishing there was someone there to talk to him, because I knew there was a cheaper equivalent. And I ended up talking to his mom when he walked away, and he came back, and he just looked like he felt so betrayed. Because I'm sure I was just some like random guy to him saying, no, the cheap markers are okay, when he thought he had just hustled his mom to buying him the Copics. But I remember thinking, you need more from the people selling you art supplies.
Yeah.
And you're not getting it here. Versus, the experience I mentioned, let me move this up a little cutting off
We're
the
good?
top of. Yeah, you're not in that. My sketchbook. I think I'm losing some of it. I'm losing the top of the sketchbook itself.
Oh. Well, that's not good.
No. Just a single bit. So yeah, okay. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
You feeling good? Everything's comfortable?
Yeah, this is great. The temperatures really equalize nicely.
Nice. Yeah, currently in Pennsylvania, it's about 95 degrees.
Oh, and humid.
And yeah, very humid. So yeah, if you hear us sweating, we apologize.
Yeah, and it's the hottest part of the day, really, for the next
It
few
really
hours.
is. Also, we are downtown, so if you hear a car or a truck or something pass by, we
That's
apologize. It's just part of life. We're not in a sound studio. We're in an art studio. But anyway, to compare that Michael's thing to, a time I was in here and I heard a young student come in asking about, I remember thinking it was something really like encaustic painting, like something weird, totally out of the blue.
Yeah.
And they had an answer for her. I was just like, oh shit, I wouldn't have known even how to direct her. So it's nice. And I don't mean to harp on this, but it breaks my heart because I think Lancaster can sustain an art store like this one, but so many of them end up closing down because they get priced out, or there's kind of unfair competition with places online and offline. And so
That's true, yeah. Often they're just seen as very niche.
yeah, and it's too bad. And they're next to an art school, but even that, I mean, here in PA, we've had all kinds of crazy art store or art school shenanigans. I don't know if you've been following all that stuff. So Delaware College of Art and Design closed down.
Yeah.
The Academy in Philly closed down. So,
Really? I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Wow.
So there's all kinds of schools closing, and if you have an art store that's like betting on that, that can be precarious. So support your local art store if you can. If you can't make it out to Curio, is the point. I also figured we'd talk a little about maybe, since we're starting over in a new space, how you approach starting a new piece from nothing. Like sort of how do you start from scratch? Whether you're trying out new materials, a new sketchbook, whatever. Is there some way you sort of get over the hump of not wanting something to be precious and let's see. This is a new sketchbook, by the way. My own personal way of doing it is just jump in and do a bunch of shitty sketches.
Yeah, I think that's important. You said you're working on a new sketchbook now?
Yeah, this one right now that I'm working with you here is I just got the thing.
Well, that's a good, in keeping with the theme.
Yeah.
Well, I think in a word, the word that comes to mind in the moment is play. To have,
Okay.
not like, I'm not sure how to describe it. I feel that for me, I talk often in the classes that we work together in about not being precious. And so it's a part of my ethos as a creative is to, in my own practice, is to just ways that I can remind myself not to be precious. And for part of that, I'm very story-based in how I conceptualize and think about whatever I'm creating visually. So anything that helps me get into what I'm portraying, what I'm illuminating, anything that can keep me in a kind of a playful mindset.
Right, so you're not thinking about, oh my god, this is a blank piece of paper, you're just...
No.
Yeah.
No, and I think, like what you said, it really is just like, just get graphite on the paper.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't even matter if it doesn't look like anything and if it may not even serve the final result. Just get some scribbles down and see what you can like pull out of that, almost like a sculptor.
Yeah. No, I was going to point. Actually, I'm glad you said it because I was going to point that out about your work. Because I remember you once I asked you to draw with the students.
Yeah.
So many of them are so like weirdly precious about every page, and so they're watching you start, and you have this kind of scrumbling technique like painters use, where you just it literally looks like you're scrubbing in tone, and there's no rhyme or reason at
first. There's no outline to it. It doesn't look organized. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's kind of like a Polaroid. Something starts to sort of appear in it. And then it was cool to watch them because they were used to me drawing, which I think I get a little more from outside in kind of thing.
Okay.
And they watched you and they got real quiet and they started actually listening for once. I was like, holy shit, I should have done this sooner. So yeah.
Well, it is helpful and useful to see different ways of working because sometimes a light bulb will click for somebody.
I agree.
Do you want to do more 2s or 5s?
Whatever you're comfortable with. We can jump up.
All right. Let's do 5s.
And if you need to sit or whatever, that's fine.
Okay.
So yeah.
For me, I think part of why I work that way, I mean, to me it doesn't seem weird at all, but a lot of people have told me I have a very unique way of developing an image, essentially.
Right.
But I guess I do that way, and it's evolved in my practice over time, is because I just want to get something on the page that I can then become interested in.
Wow. So you're looking for something there that's not there yet.
Yeah, it is kind of like a weird X-ray vision version of sculpting, I guess, for me, the way my head's seeing it. But I'm not interested in a white page, and I get bored easy. So if I'm staring at a white page and I can easily just do something else, I'm probably not going to work.
Yeah.
So I have to just throw something on the page and then respond to it.
So there's something hiding on the paper, you just have to find the thing.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's really cool, actually.
And then I'm like, oh, and then I'm actually working on a piece right now that is more so than ever before, really leaning into pulling out form out of these delicate layers of just tone.
Is this the thing you were posting on your Instagram?
Yes.
Oh man, I saw that video and it was so funny. This is how I know how different we are, because I saw that and I thought, God damn it, sharpen your pencils. All your pencils were dull, and I'm like, what the hell is she doing? But then I realized, wait a minute, that's where the magic is for her, because I know, having seen you draw, you're just taking that stump and just finding forms.
Yeah, I like those blunt edges, the multifaceted wide carpenter pencil that has all these multifaceted.
Yeah, I think you had a close up of a pencil, and the tip was it looked like a giant ballpoint pen. I thought, holy hell, there's no point on that at all.
That makes sense. That's so funny. Yeah, because you are very you gotta have a nice sharp point.
Oh God. Yeah. I'm fighting the urge to keep sharpening the thing. And I should probably product place.
Oh,
I got the cool sharpener from Blackwing. It's the long point thing, and it has this kind of cool. I don't know if you can hear the metal. It's all metal pieces.
That's nice tactile.
Yeah.
It looks like it stores a lot of graphite.
It does, but the problem is I want to overuse it. Because it's cool, because it feels cool. And then, like you said, I'm just a little uptight about wanting a point. And I realize in figure drawing it doesn't make any sense.
But that makes sense with where you come from. A lot of your work in comics, there's a lot of tight lines.
Yes. And it's probably to the detriment of my drawings, because after a while I'm just when I start to finally like a figure drawing, it's when I've chilled out about the point and the process and just went with it, kind of like what you're doing. So
yeah, kind of like what I'm saying about put something on the page and just go in, get in. That's interesting. But apt to your point about products helping you to get into your work, that sharpener gets you excited.
It does. But the problem is that I just caught myself literally taking it apart for no reason when I should be drawing, and I'm literally on the clock.
It sounds cool.
It does. And I always worry that people think I'm just constantly, shilling for Blackwing. But I mean, I genuinely love these stupid. I shouldn't say stupid. I love this stuff. You know, like we all had that feeling as a kid where you just got so excited to get new supplies.
Yeah.
So that kind of does it for me.
And I love that moment with a new supply where you know you're into it, where you get to like break it in and make it your own.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Anyway, this is a very nerdy talk. I like it.
Yes. If you're watching a show and you don't like nerd art, well, then you're watching the wrong show. Go watch Joe Rogan or something.
Yeah.
I'll talk to you about testosterone or something.
Yeah, I don't know what else to say about in terms of starting from fresh. For me, it's just like I feel like I'm always starting fresh.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like that. You know how, I don't know, for me, I feel inside like I'm still a kid, like I'm young. I'm very, very young.
Yeah.
I don't feel like I'm 36.
You don't look like you're 36.
Well, yeah, I hear that all the time.
Yeah.
I don't feel that way. I feel like I have all the time in the world a lot of the time. And it's sort of like that with my work. It's like, just as an artist, I feel like it's always fresh. It's always new. It's always something I have to figure out and get into. And so I'm not sure what else to say about get into it other than just keep playing and getting into it.
By the way, I made a comment on your parents. I apologize. It's probably if
no.
You and I know that that's like an everyday joke with us because she looks like she's very young, but I don't want it to look like I'm just because there's some history with us joking around about.
Right. Yeah. That's out of context for the audience, maybe, but we've talked about that.
Sorry, I just realized you're in the post.
Oh, no worries. The fan feels great. Wow.
I'm really loving this space, to be honest, too. Like, there's a weird warmth. We'll have to do some actual shows where we can like show the.
Oh yeah.
Behind you, there's the sort of stone wall with the brick above it, and we're like half a level underground, so it's just kind of. I don't know, it's a cool space. It feels more like an art studio to me than even when we were at the school. So.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And there is a sort of hush, it's quiet and cozy.
Yeah, I really like it. I'm excited. I'm so glad you said yeah.
I mean, it might be slightly off topic, but that kind of relates for me, at least, with prepping a space, prepping my mind for being creative and focused in general is kind of, I need to have a space that reflects calm and focus for me, and it reflects a kind of coziness with what I'm about to do. If it's drawing, I need to feel like I want to be able to draw in that space, you know? And so I think prepping a space for the purpose that you personally have in it is personalizing a space is very important.
That's a great point, actually. Maybe that's kind of what I'm picking up on, because the school is wonderful, but I think I've associated it with work in a different sense, you know, like teaching. And this feels a little like more relaxed and like an actual art studio that I didn't set up, but you can tell the space is designed for that. You know, they do workshops and stuff in here.
Yeah, it definitely has the bhavana, the mood of creativity. Feel at home and make something.
I really like it.
I should come here more often. I have come here for these sketchbook club sessions in the past, and then COVID kind of took that option out of my mind.
Yeah. Well, you also don't live here, right? Technically.
Sorry?
You don't actually live in Lancaster.
No, I used to for years, and now I'm a little bit farther away, and so I don't come as often. But they do have great little evening sketchbook session where you can just come and draw.
Yeah.
Lots of little objects and.
There's a still life to my left of like a cow skull and all kinds of cool bottles and skulls and
feathers,
flowers and stuff. Yeah, so they're definitely like they're always ready, you know.
Yeah, Matt in particular is really good at collecting interesting things and setting them up.
Yeah, he's also has a shelf over to his side. He's like, if you guys need more props, there's even like a wasp hive. over there, which
yes, I love that.
Yeah.
They're my people. They go on hikes and like collect nature things.
Yeah, they really are.
I love it.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this space for sure.
I'm actually surprised we're not really hearing any traffic.
I know it's pretty well.
Really
Probably
quiet.
shouldn't jinx it, but yeah, it's. I was a little concerned about that. I think there was more noise at Peak Head, to be honest.
Oh,
'Cause of
yeah.
all the glass windows.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe being underground is kind of muffling it a little bit.
It's great.
'Cause you wouldn't know that there's a major street, like literally against that wall to our right.
So what other ways in which do you start afresh?
So for me, I end up often, I'm probably a little too focused on how I'm going to begin. I will have to go in thinking these are going to be quick gestures, period. And then I'll take one of those and I'll decide to expand it and say this is going to be a tonal drawing, period. Or I'm going to do an envelope drawing and measure everything out, period. Like it which I think is limiting. So what I'm trying to do is take those and create like a pipeline. So I have all these little gestures I'll do. And what I'm trying to do is like not just do a gesture and then dump it. If I see one that's interesting, I'll save that reference and then try to do an expanded tonal drawing of the same thing, or at least a little more fleshed out, and then see what happens. I don't think I'm jealous of your ability to just make something out of each drawing feels special.
Oh, well, thank you.
No, it's my pleasure. Where mine, I feel like they feel like reps at a gym or something. You know what I mean? And I have to sometimes get away from that. So it's not so hard to start, I guess is the point. It's harder for me to decide that there's a lot more potential here than just dumping a few lines on a piece of paper and then moving on. If anything, I probably suffer from I shouldn't say suffer, but I probably struggle with making like rushing through these drawings a little too much, hoping that I'll find whatever it is I'm looking for, whatever new skill or some understanding that I need,
Yeah, I can relate to that though. Yeah, I get that.
It feels like rushing meditation. You know what I mean? Okay,
breathe.
I'm gonna get nirvana on this next breath. I can feel it, and that's just stupid,
That's funny. When you talk about like turning something into something else, are you doing that within that same paper, within that same piece, or are you just applying it to a new?
Yeah, new
paper?
drawing.
Okay.
Yeah. I have all these. I don't know why I got it in my head that I needed to work on precision more. So I started doing these little gestures, and then I would take the same reference and I would put a series of lines over it. Like I figure out. This is kind of in the weeds, but there's a way of, you know this, but folks out there that don't know, these kind of envelope drawings where you decide where's the top, where's the bottom, where's the farthest left and farthest right edge, and then you drop a plumb line, and then you sort of measure things out from that straight line, which leaves little room for mistakes in terms of where you place things, but can get very stiff.
Yeah, right.
So I'm trying to do some of those from a series of gestures. Like I'll do a quick gesture or figure, and it just feels good, but I can tell it's off. I'll try to take it to the next step. So I'll bring it into like Procreate or something, drop lines over it and print it out with the lines on it, so that I can draw it one to one.
Okay.
And get it as accurate as possible. And my hope is to eventually take that and then add tone.
Okay, right.
I haven't yet. I've done like 4 of these really very, very accurate line drawings. I haven't taken them any further yet because they feel so rigid that I'm just like, I don't want to move on. There's something missing and I can't figure it out yet, and I often can't force that, so I'm just sitting with them.
Okay.
My hope is that eventually one of them will go, and I think I know which one I'm going to do. One of them will sort of speak to me and be less stiff and be able to translate it over to like a tonal drawing.
Yeah,
that would be interesting. So
I think that's a good point about sitting with stuff and waiting for it to speak to you. Though I think that's an often overlooked overlooked resource that we have as creatives.
Yeah.
Definitely a tool. Yeah.
Yeah.
I use that a lot. I'm a slow maker.
Yes. Yes.
But I think for me, that's where feeling fresh can come from a lot of the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's taken me forever to learn that. I think.
No.
Well, because I'm like kind of. I mean, with my illustration work, everything's on the clock.
Yeah.
And so I'm always sort of in a hurry, and I have to finish things. And I've only just realized that slowing down is a superpower. And so I'm making myself do that. That's why I end up doing a bunch of these sort of technical drawings, because I know if I just sat and did nothing but stared at that one, I would just eventually give in and just figure, well, some movement is better than nothing. So instead I'm just doing new ones and just letting the other one sort of percolate, and that's the only way I can kind of get around that tendency to just keep moving and working.
I think that's a great decision to utilize time as your aid.
Well, thank you.
There, that's
Every so
great.
often I make good decisions. Once in a blue moon. And it's funny because this new class I'm teaching is observational drawing.
Oh.
So I'm having to take all this stuff I'm trying to do, and I mean there's already a syllabus for it, which I'm kind of not going to follow. Change quite a bit. But it occurred to me that like it's coming at the right time where I'm in this sort of zone where I need to slow things down. And sometimes teaching a class on that stuff is the best way to make you slow down, because you have to now explain something that you're used to doing to a kid that has no idea what you're talking about.
Right, and that, not to be funny, but that can take a lot of time. Yeah.
What time is it, by the way?
It is 2:01. I failed at my job.
That's okay.
Letting you know.
Let's wrap it up, I think, just because I gotta run. Anyway, but that was good. I think it was a good discussion. It was a nice first show here.
I think so, yeah.
At Curio.
We kind of just gushed about how we love it, but that's okay.
Yeah, I mean, and I also want to make it clear, like, I love Curio, but you probably have a shop in your town that's like this, that's run by some artist that just loves this stuff, is not getting rich, but is happy for you to walk in the door and say, how do I do this? And they'd be thrilled to talk to you about making art. So find, if you can't make it to Curio and you can't call in and order stuff, find your local shop, like it's...
Right. And it may take some digging, because there's like a really tiny little spot somewhere near Harrisburg, and I had to try to dig on Google Maps, like, do they have any cool little art
there's a
things?
nice shop across the river from Harrisburg. I forget the name. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
I used to go there fairly frequently, long before the store popped up. But with that said, special thanks to Matt and Nicole at Curio. This space is beautiful, so thanks for letting us use it. Thanks for sponsoring the show. Also, thanks to Blackwing for giving me my favorite pencils to draw with Mairin-taj. Thank you, Mairin-taj, for
Thank you.
Once again being not just the inspiration for the work, but also just a really smart artist to get to talk to. So that I am very grateful to you for. And we will put links to your Patreon and everything in the description. But is there anything you want to share with anybody? They can find you on Instagram at
what is it? Studio_Mair.
And then your Patreon is Mairin-taj.
Mairin-tajCaya, yeah.
Okay, so and I'll put the link in the description. So check us out. You get this show a week early.
Yeah.
And every 5th episode, I think we're planning on taking questions. So we've done it for
doing live.
Yeah. Episode 5 and episode 10, we go live, but it's really just for patrons.
Right.
And they get to ask questions. So if you support the show on either Patreon, you'll get access to that plus tons of other stuff. You offer artist references, your own art. You share your process and everything with. So so yeah, thank you.
All right. Until next time.
All right. See you guys.